All right, people, let's talk emergency funds.
We have been thinking all week about ways to make this video more interesting.
I mean, how can we really talk about increasing your financial security by creating a safety net of funds to pay for emergency expenses without the need of hiring people? So what is an emergency fund and why should you have one? Put simply, an emergency fund is just money set aside for unexpected expenses. And you should have one because it happens. You lose your job, you break your leg, your furnace kicks it in the middle of winter.
Going into debt isn't an option, and cashing out a 401k or a retirement account is slow and expensive. So you keep a stash of money aside somewhere safe, like a savings or a checking account, and you're only going to use it for something unexpected, necessary, and urgent. It has to be all three.
Having a healthy emergency fund gives you peace of mind, a good night's sleep, and clarity when you need to make a tough decision.
Recommendations vary, but a general rule of thumb is to have 3 to 6 months expenses. Not 3 to 6 months of your income, just expenses. Where you fall on that sliding scale depends on a number of factors.
Are you a salaried employee with a long work history? 3 months is probably sufficient. If your income is varied, hourly, or commission-based, maybe consider bumping it up a little bit. Are you a 2-income household? Bring it back down.
If you are in debt, it doesn't make much sense to have a large emergency fund sitting in a bank account earning less than 1% when your credit cards might be charging 15 to 20% or more. Maybe drop it down to about $500 or $1,000.
But just while you're paying off your debt. Emergency funds are a way of self-insuring against disaster, and how much actual insurance you have should be a deciding factor in how much you set aside. For example, if you have a Cadillac plan of health, home, car, and life insurance, you probably need less money than someone who has a catastrophic plan with a high deductible.
Enough generalities. Let's get into our specific numbers and how we tend to break the rules.
But keep in mind, we have 2 incomes, no kids, and very low expenses. Depending on the month, we usually keep around $3,000 or so split between checking and cash in a safe. That's around 2 months' expenses for us, but since we put everything on a rewards card and then pay it off at the end of every month, that cash is hardly ever used for emergencies.
Instead of an emergency fund, it's more like an opportunity fund for us. For example, we moved to New York so that I could work at Tiffany's, but after graduating school, I was offered full-time employment at Saks. Then when a seasonal position opened up at Tiffany's, I had to take the risk of giving up full-time employment for possibly not having a job in a few months. But I felt comfortable knowing that we had our emergency fund, that if I were to lose my job, we would be okay for a few months. The good news is, I got the job, and we ended up living in New York for 3 years.
It probably isn't a surprise to you what we often use our opportunity fund for is Craigslist deals. In fact, the Mercedes and the trailer that we just bought were both after banking hour deals that we were able to have cash and an ATM available with the money in the bank to go pick it up immediately and act quickly. That's how we get the deals that we get. This means that our account gets depleted and replenished frequently and is often just fluctuating, but we never really let it get dropped below $1,000 or so. And we also have very specific assets tied to that money that if we did put an unforeseen expense on the credit card, we could sell that item within 30 days and pay it off.
Of course, we also have our Roth IRA contributions that can be withdrawn penalty-free if we ever need more than that amount.
That being said, do not do as we say or do unless you have significant financial margin in your life and are 100% comfortable with it. Otherwise, pay off your debt and keep a healthy rainy day fund safe and secure, because the rainy day is coming. Not to be a downer, but it is. Bye.
See you Sunday.